Today we're going to read Farmer Will Allen and the Growing Table. I bet this book looks familiar. It's by Jacqueline Briggs Martin and illustrated by Eric Shabazz Larkin. Farmer Will Allen and the Growing Table. Farmer Will Allen. Farmer Will Allen is as tall as his truck. He can hold a cabbage or a basketball in one hand. When he laughs, everyone laughs, glad to be in his crew. When he talks, everyone listens. But some say the special thing about Will Allen is that he can see what others can't see. Are they right? When he looked at an abandoned city lot, he saw a huge table heaped with food. Was he right? Let's see. The kitchen table. When Will Allen was a boy, must be him as a boy here, bowls of peas, greens, and his favorite, lima beans with ham, covered the kitchen table. My mother often fixed enough food for 30, Will said. He never had a car or a TV, but he always had good food. He remembered people who'd come to dinner tired and drooped and leaving laughing. So food was really important to that family. Always had good food. Will's family grew most of their own food, and Will loved the food but hated the work. He planned to quit planting and picking and pulling weeds, leave those Maryland fields for basketball or white shirt work, and he did. He graduated from college and moved to Belgium to play professional basketball. When a Belgian friend asked him to help dig potatoes, Will realized he actually loved digging in the dirt. He grew so much food, so he thought, I don't really like this work. But then after a while, he was like, wait a second. Actually, I do. I love growing food. And he and his wife, Cindy, covered their kitchen table with Thanksgiving dinner for a team of basketball friends. A new kind of farm. When Will was done with basketball, he worked a white shirt job in Wisconsin. A white shirt job would mean maybe if you're wearing a nice white shirt, you wouldn't want it to get all dirty. So it wouldn't be a job where you're like digging and getting dirty. It would be maybe a job that's mostly inside, maybe with a computer, that kind of job. Will wanted his own place, and he'd seen that fresh vegetables were as scarce in the city as trout in the desert. Will believed everyone, anywhere, had a right to good food. So he's saying where he was living, there was like, he couldn't really find fresh, good vegetables anywhere. And he was like, we need to fix that. But how could Will farm in the middle of pavement and parking lots? Does that seem like a good place to grow food? One day, driving in Milwaukee, he spotted 6 empty greenhouses on a plot of land about the size of a large supermarket for sale. He could see kids who'd never eaten a ripe tomato, had never crunched a raw green bean, sitting at his table eating his vegetables. Will Allen bought that city lot. So he wanted to see kids with good, healthy, fresh vegetables. The dirty soil. Will had a start on his table, but he had the land, but the table was empty. The problem was Will's soil. The soil was dirty with chemicals and pollution. He had no money for machines to dig out the bad soil, for truckloads of good soil. What to do? All that soil is just too dirty for a plant to grow in. Plants need healthy soil. In Belgium, Will had learned to make good soil with food garbage. They call it composting, but he needed lots of food garbage. He asked his friends to save food waste, apple peels to old zucchinis. We compost at our household. The city picks it up. We have the big green bucket that you can dump all your food scraps or like leaves and things from the yard, old plants. You can put it in there and they get composted. Will collected those scraps in big white buckets and dumped them into piles, and he added hay, leaves, newspapers, red wiggler, worms, and water, and every now and then he turned the piles to get air into the mix. Neighborhood kids stopped by to ask what he was doing, and Will told him about the piles and the red wiggler worms that would help the garbage become compost. The kids came back day after day to help. Like, here's our stinky food. Let's turn it into good dirt. The worms help. The worms eat that, and then, well, when they poop, it helps turn it into good dirt. Red wiggler worms. Then one day, bad news. The red wiggler crew was dying. Oh no. Will and the kids studied worms for 5 years and learned not to feed the worms too much. And they discovered the best menu for red wigglers: no hot peppers, no onions, no garlic. Lots of watermelon rinds, sweet potato scraps, molasses. Since then, the squirmy crew has stayed hard at work. So they were feeding some of the wrong things. The worms don't like any food waste. I guess they don't like the peppers, garlic, and onions. Will says worm magic is what makes his farm grow. So I had to figure out the right kind of food for the worms. Making a bigger table. Growing power. Once Will had good soil, he was ready to plant vegetables, but he didn't have much space. How could he grow enough food on a small city plot? Will Allen looked around and he saw that he had all the space from under the soil of his feet to the top of the greenhouses. He hung plant baskets from the ceiling, and he grew greens in buckets, greens in rows. He crowded shelves with pots of spinach, chard, lettuce, and he grew stacks of tiny salad sprouts in boxes, hundreds of boxes. So instead of planting all on the ground, he's like, let's go up, let's build up, let's build up. Fill up all the space. There's so much room to grow. Will added hoop houses to hold more boxes and more long rows of vegetables, and he had vats of water and fish to the greenhouse. Fish. Fish wastewater grows the sprouts. The sprouts clean the water for the fish. Wow, that's working together, isn't it? That's collaboration, cooperation. Fish, water, sprouts work together like a 3-part farm machine. It reminds me of like the Three Sisters. But this is fish, water, and sprouts. He added goats and chickens, turkeys, and bees to that city farm he named Growing Power. Wow. It's looking nice now, isn't it? Finding farmers. Farmer Will's work clothes are jeans and a blue sweatshirt with cut-off sleeves. He's busy from early morning to night. Still, one person could never grow all the food. Will wanted to grow where he could find more farmers in the middle of the city. Or where could he find more farmers? Will Allen looked around. He saw teenagers, school children, parents, grandparents. He taught them to be farmers. Then Will's table held as much as several supermarkets, thousands of pounds of food. Wow. With all these farmers and all this help. Then Will's table held... Neighbors who live in high rises far off the growing ground came and still come to Will's farm to buy fresh vegetables, fish, or eggs. People have gone and still go to fancy restaurants to eat Will's food. But Will wanted his table to feed folks all over the world. How could he build one huge table across continents? So he's like, I don't want to feed just my city. I want to feed more people. Growing power around the world. Will thought about the problem of the world-sized table, and he looked around and saw many helpers who learned to be farmers. He would teach people everywhere to grow food for their own tables. Will Allen began to travel. He has crisscrossed the United States showing others how to farm in the city, and he has taken his red wigglers to Kenya, to London, all over the world. The world has also come to his Milwaukee farm. 20,000 visitors a year tour the greenhouses, watch goats, snack on greens, and go home planting to start a farm on a city lot, rooftop, or abandoned highway. So many places you can grow food. You don't have to just have, a nice plot in your yard. You could turn anything into a garden. Will and the 50 million. Is Will Allen done? Never! We need 50 million more people growing food on porches, in pots, in side yards, he says. Will is always looking for new ways to make the table bigger, more schoolyard plots, a vertical farm that's 5 stories high, farms in empty factories or warehouses. Will Allen's dream of a day when a city farm is as common as streetlights and every table is covered with good food. Your table. Will Allen can see what others can't see. When he sees kids, he sees farmers. Will you be on Will Allen's crew? Will you grow vegetables for your family, your neighbors, on your porch or roof or yard? How big will your table be? And then at the end, there's a picture of Farmer Will Allen and some of his animals. All right. Hope you enjoyed.